The Wind Rises is one of the most beautifully written, beautifully animated films of all time. That's a fact. Now, The Wind Rises is about a young boy named Jiro Horikoshi, and his dream is to build airplanes. As fate would have it, though, that's not a very good dream to have, considering how around the time he was alive, World War II was going on, and if you created an airplane, it's more likely that it's going to be used for death and destruction. Now, the thing that I really like that Miyazaki did with The Wind Rises is he doesn't give a crap about what anyone thinks. He has World War II mentioned in this several times. Of course, it's not called World War II. He has talk of fighting the Americans, talk of the planes they're building being used for war. He has smoking, a lot of smoking, and on top of that, he also has another thing. A little romance in there that at one point it's hinted to there may be a little bit of bang bang going on, if you know what I mean. And thanks to all of this, I think it's going to break apart that stigma that animation is only used for storytelling of children's stories, and that it can't be used, to tell an adult story or a mature story. And I don't think I've ever seen a story done by Hayao Miyazaki that's been so tame. There's always been some sort of magical fantasy element to his stories that isn't present here, yet he's done it so beautifully. Not to mention, he intersplices these dream sequences that sort of give it that fantasy feel we know from Miyazaki. And those dream sequences are actually very important as well. They convey what Jiro's dream is, and they also convey what he's fighting for at each moment, where he talks to a man named Caproni, another man who designs airplanes like himself, who's sort of like a spiritual guide, almost like a mentor, even though he's never met him in person. And it's just because of their clash of similar interests that he's like that in the first place. It just happens that one's a successful airplane developer right at the moment, and one isn't. Jiro. And with all these elements combined, Miyazaki was able to create something amazing. And on top of that, he doesn't care. He doesn't care that he has all these mature themes, all these offensive themes. Smoking. Surgeon generals have said things, doctors all over the world have complained about how there's a lot of smoking in this movie, saying that it glorifies smoking. And in my opinion, it's just more realistic that there's smoking. People smoked all the time back then. And the talk of war, and that these planes were used for war. I mean, he's idolizing a man who created airplanes that were used in Pearl Harbor. But it was just, he's a victim of circumstance. Jiro didn't know, exactly what he was getting into. He just wanted to design beautiful airplanes, and that's exactly what he did. And that's what I admire this story for most. True realism, getting all the facts right, being 100% correct, despite it being a fictional piece based off realistic events. Now, there really isn't much to say about the characters because they're kind of historical figures. I'm only going to talk about the three that I find most important, though. You've got our main character, Jiro, who wants to invent airplanes. You have his fiancée, Naomi, his romantic love interest. And you have his idol, Caproni, the Italian airplane designer. Now, the thing about these is, we have Jiro here. He wants to design airplanes, but he's also in love with Naomi. And these two things conflict, and they do so very well. Now, he doesn't know what to give up. He doesn't know if he should give up airplanes or give up his love. Now, this sort of giving one up for the other is only implied in the film. It's not a direct theme, but it's one of the ones that spoke to me the most. And his solution for this problem was neither. Don't give up on either of them. Keep going for both of them. And Naomi didn't want him to give up on his love for airplanes, and Caproni, who you only saw in his dreams, didn't want him to give up on his love for Naomi. Now, that's a very beautiful theme, and that's really all much I have to say about the characters. All the characters they show are whimsical with a slight hint of realism as for the type of story that Miyazaki decided to do this time around. And it's done very well. And really, there's not much to say about the characters in any other regard. They're done beautifully for the moments that they're shown in. None of their ideals conflict with what they do. It's very well done. And the animation is probably the best thing to talk about because in true Ghibli fashion, the animation for this film is absolutely beautiful. The directing that Hayao Miyazaki did is absolutely beautiful. You'll see landscapes get ripped apart from earthquakes. You'll see airplanes flying in the skies. You'll see these immaculate and amazing dream sequences. It's just an all-around thrill ride for the animation, and it only gets better and better. Now there's some moments of downtime in the animation, but to be honest with you, they're far and few between, and more towards the second half. But the rest of the animation is absolutely stunning and absolutely brilliant. It is amazing, and it was an orgasm for the eyes. The thing that I am personally most enthusiastic about was the animation. Yeah, there's really not much else to say when it comes to the animation. I mean, it was some beautiful stuff. Now, I do have a few slight problems with the music. Don't get me wrong, the music was very beautiful, but you'll hear me talk about that in just a second. The music was very beautiful as well. In fact, you'd notice that because the music plays quite often, very repeatedly. The music is very repetitive. They play the same tracks a bunch, like over and over and over. You will hear the same music a lot, trust me. Now, the upside to that is that it's really good music. Really, personally, it didn't bother me. I absolutely loved the music. But just the fact that how often it gets played, that type of repetition does bother a lot of people, despite how beautiful the music was. Now, the only real problem I did have with the music is that it kind of conflicts areas in my opinion, because there's this very Italian, very beautiful Italian feel to the music, yet the majority of the movie takes place in Japan. It does go to other places. I'm sure it goes to Italy in there as once or twice. I think he goes to Italy maybe once. But also he goes to Germany and several other places a few times. But most of the time he's in Japan, and a lot of times this Italian music will play. As beautiful as it is, I feel like it has conflict with the area, and that would be my only real other gripe with the music in that part of the soundtrack. Obviously, the English dub was done by Disney, and it's amazing. You have some high-profile Hollywood actors in there, such as William H. Macy, Stanley Tucci, Emily Blunt, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who all do an amazing job. Now, the Japanese dub is equally amazing, except for the main protagonist, because it was voiced by Hideaki Anno. Yeah, the guy who made Evangelion. And let me tell you, he is not a voice actor. That is not his profession. He's a great storyteller, and that's all there is to him, and he should just stay a great storyteller and not a voice actor. So yeah, I'm going to have to give it to Disney's English dub because it's freaking amazing, freaking high profile, and just overall great. What I love about The Wind Rises the most is this. The Wind Rises is true to what it wants to be. Even when it is being offensive, it doesn't care what is thought of it. It only is what it is. A savory piece of art. Now, this film being a film with great story, great characters, great animation, great soundtrack, though they all have their own little ticks, it's just a great film. In general, period. You know, I give it a 9.1 out of 10. And if you need any recommendations for what to watch after watching this, I can tell you, man, after watching this film, I was having war flashbacks of, Grave of the Fireflies. So if you need any recommendation of a film to go watch after this, Grave of the Fireflies would be one. And if you've seen this film and recognized all of its themes, then you will know after watching Grave of the Fireflies why I recommended it to you. It's another Ghibli classic. It's cheap. It's available from Sentai Filmworks. The Wind Rises, available from Disney. Pick both of them up. Watch them. Make yourself happy or sad. Because, there's some genuinely sad moments in this movie. And let's be honest with ourselves. Grave of the Fireflies is anything from a picnic. You're going to be either crying or bored because you're either going to be interested in the horrible story that's being presented to you. Horrible as in, kind of hard to watch. Not horrible as in it's a bad story. It's very well written, and this movie is great too. Please pick both of them up. Please enjoy both of them. Thank you.